what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
This podcast is sponsored by Jackson Creative, a custom communication agency located in downtown Hickory, specializing in online content creation. To learn more, visit thejacksoncreative.com. Jackson Creative, we tell your story.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Forecast, your connection to the who's who in the game of golf. We will make you think, make you laugh, and grow your golf IQ. I'm your host, Alan Burton, Director of Instruction at the Alan Burton Golf Academy at Lake Hickory Country Club in Hickory, North Carolina. Be sure to check out the other shows on themesh.tv, all produced here in Western North Carolina. Thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Find us on all podcast platforms such as Apple iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio, and Google Play. On today's episode, I tell you, I'm really excited. Got a great show for you today. One of my best friends and pals, Jason Sutton, is joining us. Jason is also known as, affectionately known as, I should say, the Guru. Jason has been teaching golf about 26 years. He is a PGA teaching professional at Carmel Country Club at the Carmel Golf Academy there. And if I run down some of his accomplishments, it'll probably take up the whole show. So I'm going to hit some of the highlights. Jason is a Golf Magazine Top 100 list from 2017. He's ranked number 1 in North Carolina by Golf Digest, Best in State 2017. 2013, he won the Carolinas PGA Section Teacher of the Year. And in 2015, he's a Carolinas PGA Section Horton Smith Award winner. Please welcome this fantastic golf instructor. I am really pleased to have you with us this morning, Jason. Thanks again, buddy, for taking time. And I know It's not a glass of wine, but it's over coffee.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's cool.
Good to have you with us, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you are, I guess, one of the biggest mentors to me as a golf instructor over a number of years here. And, you know, I think that's what has really been one of your career's strongest attributes is your ability to mentor. I think it's obviously very important to you, and it is to me. I'm learning how to do that. And let's talk about mentorship a little bit, because I know that's a big part of your operational skill.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think it has been. It wasn't something I planned, come up through the ranks, but it just kind of happens when you continue to sort of surround yourself with young kids or young professionals, and I guess you start being known as a guy that knows stuff, and people start reaching out and asking you questions and asking you for information. And I think you just have to make a decision on whether you're going to share or you're going to keep it to yourself. And I've always been one to try to share as much information that I have with others, because I just think that it's the right thing to do, and two, it helps to grow our industry. And I think the more that we can make others around us better, everything gets better and we get better. Because I think mentoring is a two-way street. In my opinion, it's when I'm sharing or doing workshops, giving information, it requires me to be better, and it requires me to be sharp. And I think we both grow as my staff. My staff very well. We always use the phrase iron sharpens iron, right? So when you get around people that have that sort of growth gene, where they want to be a continuous learner like you are, then it makes everybody better. But it's not just me helping others. That scenario really helps me as well, and it helps me to keep growing and to keep wanting to get better.
No, I couldn't agree more. I think that's really, to be a good coach, you have to obviously be a student of what you're coaching, and that's what I've really tried to do. And people ask me how long I've been teaching golf. I say, well, not nearly as long as I've been learning golf. And, it's kind of a student of the game for about 46 years. And that's the real passion, I think, when you're a good coach, you're able to do that. So, continuing to educate yourself. I know you're a big proponent of reading, and you've read probably more books outside of the game of golf and on the golf swing, as you've read On the Golf Swing. What is something you've been reading lately that you're really deep into and you enjoy?
That's a great question. I'm trying to get back more into reading because, as you know, the landscape's kind of changed with the internet now. There's a lot of things that we read on the internet or papers or things like that. But I've been getting in a lot of Tim Ferriss stuff. I'm trying to work my way through Tools of Titans, which is like an encyclopedia lately, which is like I think 150 books in one type of deal. But I mean, yeah, it's just I got books scattered all around. I kind of revisit a lot of things, to be honest. Think and Grow Rich was one of my kind of go-tos back in the day that I'll tend to pick it up sometimes and just read a chapter. There's a lot. I mean, I'm looking at, I'm in my office right now, so I'm kind of looking at some things.
So I know this is our busy season as golf instructors and coaches, so it's hard to find those minutes where we're not that busy dealing with our students. But I like to read as well. I probably read a lot more in the winter than I do in the summer.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. This time of year, I'm not as much. Just trying to get the most out of my day, which is there's not a whole lot of free time to be had at this time of year, as you well know.
Yeah. And we probably caught you this morning after probably an 8-mile run as well. Did you get that in this morning here before it got too hot?
Yeah, well, no, that'll happen afterwards. After the interview, I'm going to go for a run. But I did. Big thing I've been getting into lately is just meditation. Just trying to quiet my mind and be a little bit more present throughout the day, which I have a difficult time doing. I think we all do in this busy world that we live in now with our phones and social media and whatnot. It's just anything I can do to sort of be a little bit more conscious is really what I'm trying to do. And I'm super new to it, but I mean, I think it's going to be a game changer for me and the people around me during the day that will help me make better decisions throughout the day and just to be a little bit more, like I said, a little bit more present. So I did do my meditation this morning, which I'm happy to. Once I get that done, it seems like everything else just falls into place.
No, I agree. Getting disconnected from all the electronics, and like you said, I love the word present, being with who you're with at the moment, and no distractions. It's very important as a golfer playing.
Yeah, because it's like, when you see it in our students, and I'm guilty of it too, is when you're having a conversation with somebody or you're trying to pay attention, are you really paying attention, right? What are you really listening to? Mm-hmm. And we get that with our students a lot too, where we don't know really where their mind is a lot of times when we're coaching. So we have to get that feedback to figure out, what. It's kind of like the cup and the string, the old telephone is like, what did you really hear? So tell me that, and if it doesn't come back, the important information doesn't get through, then we got a problem.
Exactly.
So we need to reiterate it, or we've got to go another avenue to kind of get that to stick. So that's just me being a person or being a better human.
Yeah.
Just trying to be more present and actually digest what, whoever I'm having that conversation with, so I can internalize it properly.
No, that's exactly right. Being a good teacher, you have to be a good listener and understand how to, to connect with that student, whether it's using words or visuals or, feels. And I know you're a great teacher in that you like to get in there and put your hands on that student, move them around and make them feel things. So it's your way of communicating that message. Sometimes that's probably the skill of the teacher, figuring out what that student needs at that moment, to make those improvements that they're working on. So I think it was fascinating to me in your ability to organize. You've always been very organized as a coach, as a teacher. I've tried to take some of your organizational skills and implement those. I really enjoy, how you took the mastermind skills, as you call them, and you kind of organized some of the things golfers need to work on. And I think that's fascinating. Really, most golfers' concepts of what they're trying to do is generally not very accurate of what would be appropriate for good results. And so by putting those into a list, if you will, I think that's really something our viewers would enjoy hearing about. Let's talk about your mastermind skills as a full swing golf shot takes place. What are those mastermind skills? And let's kind of give the golfers listening some of those nuggets they can take to the tee next time they go out and practice.
Yeah, sure. I think, once I started teaching, I guess once I started at Carmel and I sort of was, my own boss, and I could sort of come up with the philosophy, I would say. I mean, you may not even call it philosophy. I just call it a framework to sort of work around, right? It's just pieces that have a lot of internal pieces within those different spots that you look at and what's important in a golf swing. So I came up with the mastermind skills, and I think they're in order of importance, I think, as well. So low point control was what I came up with with the first one, and you could go super deep on that, but it's just basically controlling the low area of the circle or the low area of the arc, or however you want to describe the bottom of the golf swing.
Sure.
So, with an iron, we want to be, hitting, full shots. We want to be hitting the ball first and then hitting the ground in front of the ball. And a lot of times students don't even know that part, right?
Oh,
so you may have to even go as basic as like, all right, what do you think happens, when a solid golf shot is hit? So that's the first thing you start with. And then you start looking at, all right, if that's a problem, right? If we're not hitting it solid, because how many lessons during the day do you give to where that's the goal, right? It might not be hitting it perfectly straight or controlling curve right away. It's like, how do I hit it solid? Because that's what most players want to do. So, being able to have, sort of those, we call them like pluses and minuses in that framework of mastermind skill number one, you can start to dig in and find the solution pretty quick. Yeah. Whether it's somebody moving off the ball too much because they thought they should shift their weight, into the backstroke, or, cleaning up what looks like a very extended lead wristed impact a little too early. There's a lot of factors that could cause you to not find the low point with an iron swing. And then obviously with driver, the low point's going to be more back. Right. We got a ball in the air. We want to have a little bit more of a level strike. So setup changes. So, we can go, you tell me what direction you want to go there, Adam. That's a pretty deep, deep dive. But yeah, if just to kind of lay out the other factors is, number two is what I call centered pivot, where you could really break it into, just saying body motion. Right, because obviously there's not one style of pivot that's going to work for everybody.
Right.
I just back in the day, or 5, 6, 7 years ago, I just called it centered pivot because I really enjoyed that. Not all my players have a perfectly centered pivot, right? You just it's just having the pieces, so you could just call that body motion. And then club face control is a huge deal, obviously. So we call it just controlling the face of the club.
Sure.
All the different factors that go along with that, whether it's the attachment, it's supination, pronation, lead wrist extension, flexion, all the stuff we talk about with wrist angles can affect that. So it's understanding how to affect these different pieces, and then what direction you're going to go in a golf swing.
Right.
And then club path. Obviously, the 3D club path is important to controlling the sweet spot. I call it sweet spot path control. Would be number 4, which everybody kind of knows what that means. And then deep plane knowledge is the last one, because you can agree or disagree. A lot of coaches out there that I want my players to have a general understanding of ball flight.
Sure.
I want them to understand what creates certain shots, right? So they can sort of be their own coach per se. And a lot of ball flights are difficult to diagnose. I understand that for the average player,
right?
But as you know, I use a lot of I use TrackMan, I use a lot of technology. So I want them to understand just the general basic, D plane. So when they leave a lesson, they understand face and path. They understand angle of attack and how that sort of affects the shots that they're going to hit. I just think they're going to be more equipped to help themselves when they're away from their coach.
No, I agree. I think a lot of instructors, when we started understanding the ball flight and its relationship to the D-plane model, I think as an instructor, you're like, why would you hold this information from a student? Why would you be afraid to teach them something as simple as two vectors intersecting at the moment that club strikes the ball? It's really a very simple model. And I agree with you 100%. I think if the student doesn't understand it, they're going to be playing golf in a blind struggle their whole life. And I prefer them play in a guided struggle, as the golfing machine referred to it. I think it's just information you need to equip your students with. So I agree.
Center contact is huge, obviously, because as we say, that when you hit it off center, the D plane doesn't really exist.
Right.
But I think we don't spend enough time educating students on gear effect, especially with drivers and 3-woods and hybrids and so forth. So it's just, because that can get super confusing for players when they hit it in the toe and the heel, and they don't understand why it's curving the opposite direction of what it should be curving because of the sweet spot control. So I think a lot of little things like that can be eye-opening to students and save them a lot of frustration.
Oh, I agree. They're generally not capable of diagnosing their golf shots, and we've heard it every day on our lesson tee. Hey, I picked my head up, or I didn't keep my left arm straight, I didn't stay down. You hear all this stuff, and you go, wait a minute.
Yeah.
No, this is not going to help you to misdiagnose yourself or just to throw some generic, mistake verbiage on your golf shot is not going to help you. So that's what we're dealing with every day, is trying to get golfers aware that, no, the golf ball responds to certain things that occurred at impact, and you have to understand these things to make improvements, don't you?
Absolutely.
And it's really, for us as instructors, to me, it's fascinating that so many golfers come to our lesson tee and they don't even have an understanding of the concept of low point. So you're beginning at page 1, in their educational development, saying, well, where should the club touch the ground when you hit a solid golf shot? And they're not sure. I mean, they're vague on that, but they know that they're supposed to have a straight left arm and keep their head down. I go, well, no, let's not worry about these things because they're not really happening for most great players. What is really happening is what you need to focus on. And they're just so distracted by all these, I think, really vague, improper ideas about what good golf swings are all about.
For sure. And if you even go into like the new stuff, the science and how the club's actually working and the forces and torques, then it can get real confusing when you tell them that I want you to pull the grip off the club to actually make the club head go down to the ground. Then you get a real strange look.
Oh, I know. But that's, you get that puppy dog look where their head tilts a couple different ways and their eyes roll around. You go, well, that's actually what's happening. When you're swinging the club, you're putting forces and rotational movements on the shaft through your hands and the ground. So let's talk about that. Yeah. It's always fun to go down that rabbit hole for sure. Well, man, there's been some I guess mastermind skills developed for putting as well. I know you teach a lot of putting. I've really enjoyed watching your career develop and how many more putting students you're getting these days, because you are known for teaching putting. I know you and I both are involved with the Aim Point Green reading.
Right.
You brought me into the group probably 8 years ago, and could not be more thankful for that relationship as well. But let's talk putting a little bit.
Okay.
You've got some mastermind skills there. Tell me what your thoughts are as you've advanced your skills as a putting coach. Where has that brought you?
Well, I mean, it just made me more well-rounded. I mean, I think that was the original goal. I never sought out to be like a niche putting coach, because I know, as we both know, a lot of the full-time putting coaches, I mean, that's a job that's very thankless and a lot of times can be very, job security is not the best. So I got to feed my family, but I did kind of, set a goal, 7, 8, I guess probably maybe about 10 years ago now, to say I have some deficiencies in my coaching, and I really didn't know a lot about putting. So once I got to Carmel, which has been 7 years ago, it's hard to believe, time flies. Yeah. And I bought a Sam Putt Lab, then, a lot of a lot of things started to come to light, because now I understand, I knew exactly, I could measure what the putter was doing, and then started digging in more to the sort of the body and the biomechanics of it. So, started prioritizing, like, all right, what do I think is important in putting? And it's just, the mastermind skills are simply just mechanics, right? And as me and we've had lots of discussions on the putting. The other stuff is really what is so interesting to me now, not just, the mastermind skills of aiming the club and, controlling the face, controlling how the ball rolls, and then controlling, the path, and then, launch conditions and all that stuff. That's important, but it's digging into how the player perceives the curve, how they picture the putt, how they go about, managing different environments and situations, which I think is the most difficult part of putting. Is every putt is a different situation,
oh, yeah. Right.
Whether it's slope, speed, all that stuff. So that's been probably the most interesting thing for me. And I've completely flipped the way I teach putting. I used to immediately, not that I don't put them on Sam Putt Lab immediately, but a lot of times I'll put them on Sam Putt Lab and I won't show them anything until I take them back out to the green and actually watch them hit putts that, have different curves and different breaks and different situations. That way I can start to see their tendencies and how they problem solve, the different deals. So that's been the biggest thing. It's so difficult, and you've heard me and John Graham talk on some podcasts. It's so difficult because every person has different tendencies and they have ways that they, I guess, digest information, that you've got to be really, really careful not to give them the wrong, the wrong fix, because you could destroy them.
Sure.
As a putter, because it's the putting stroke, I think, is very, very fragile at times, and people can make kind of weird stuff work. We see it on tour all the time, right? Sure. So I don't know which direction you want to go, but I mean, that's a long-winded answer to just, it's very difficult, and you have to do a lot of due diligence on the front end before you start to change things, especially when you're dealing with better players. And that's kind of what I think what you're talking about is I've started to get a little reputation around town that I teach putting. So I start to get a lot of mini tour players and high level players to come to me just for putting. So that's why, they're always shocked when I say, yeah, we need at least 2 hours, maybe 3. Like, we just a putting lesson? And like, yeah, because I mean, the first hour I'm just gathering data.
Just seeing what you do, right?
Yeah, I'm asking questions. I'm just trying to figure out what makes them tick.
What do you think? What are you doing?
Yeah, where they've come from, what are they trying to do? How do they perceive, how they read the greens and how they see the putts and all that stuff. And it's amazing. Like, even the high level players, they have misconceptions just like the 15, 20 handicap club player.
Right.
And, so it's really not that different to teach them. The best way I could describe it is they just can change it a little quicker than your average player. Right. If you ask them to do it and they buy into it.
Well, I mean, just example, you got really high skilled players that are coming to you. They may have, an aim bias, but then their stroke differential creates a pretty consistently appropriate start line based on their intention. They're starting the ball where they're trying to start it pretty consistently, but they're not doing it with what you would consider traditional aim and stroke mechanics, and then you go to try and get them to aim on a line. Hey, I'm going to try to get you to aim better because you're aimed way to the right of where you are trying to start the ball, and then their stroke obviously is compensated for their aim bias, and then you're down a rabbit hole that's just going to create a lot of frustration probably for a lot of players. So that's why you have to be very careful.
Yeah, I think and that's a great way to put it. It's like like the left aim under twist blockers, I think, are the most difficult because you put them on Putt Lab and they say they're aiming 2 degrees left, and you say, well, that's a problem. Like, well, maybe not, right? So if you're under twisting and blocking and the face squares up pretty good every time, that's okay. But then you go test them on a right to left putt, see if they can do that, right? I mean, so it's just, not that they can't change it, but oftentimes you have to change things in twos, right? So you can't just change their aim, not change the release,
right?
Or how the face is rotating. Now, you aim that person perfect. Now you got a big block and a big miss, and they're gonna get frustrated. Sure. So it's just it's always a judgment call, and again, it's always knowing your student and kind of how adept they are at changing a habit that maybe has been there their whole junior golf career. That's difficult, right? So it's a decision that the coach has to make, but that's what we do, right? I mean, it's figuring out. That's the genius in it. Like, I can sit here and tell you different scenarios, but without knowing the individual, it's very difficult to know exactly would I change that or would I not change that.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't really work from a framework with every player and say, hey, I'd like to get you to aim the putter exactly where you're trying to start it, make a stroke that starts it there with proper launch conditions, and then go from there. When you're just dealing with getting the ball started on line, there's just so many little pieces that have to coordinate to make that happen. And a player, a lot of times their diagnosis of what they're doing is just totally off. They think it's a line issue, and you watch them putt, and they haven't stopped a putt anywhere close to the proper distance past the hole, and it's always that relationship as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going back to the original statement, is the picture stuff, I think, is so much more important. And that's where, when good players come to me, they're always surprised at how little I do with their stroke and how much more I do with their perception and their picture. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, every putt starts with an intended distance choice, right? So, I mean, and then, building that back from entry point to drop point, which you coined that phrase, drop point, and I use that every day.
Yeah.
And it could be, and then now my new thing that I got from John Graham is the clown's mouth, right? So basically it's the top of the break, right? So if you can get people to start to picture the putt better, it's amazing. I just feel like when you're doing that, everybody's like, well, how are they going to take that to the course? It's like we're also visual. The more pictures you can give them to put in their database, in their brain,
right,
I think the better they're going to be. Because, I mean, putting is so much experience, right?
Yeah.
It's seeing situations over and over and over, and then being able to recall that in competition. Hey, this was a 3% break. This is kind of what it looks like. Because as we know, the drop point is huge because people see putts that have too much curve, right? Especially good players. If they actually know the aim point, they're going to see too much curve. So showing them how much flatter that putt's coming into the hole, I think, is a major, major deal. And as you know, as we've had a lot of discussions on, most putters are looking at what? They're looking at the first third.
Right.
They're looking at where are they going to start it, and they lose sight of the last half of the curve, which I think is a huge mistake.
Right.
So the coaches out there, or even the players, get with somebody that understands this stuff and get them to see what the last third of the curve's doing. I think it makes a huge difference in everything, right? Without that, you can't control your speed, right? So that goes back to, what's one of the most important things? You got to be able to stop the ball where you want to stop it.
That's right. Yeah, I love John Graham's drill where he puts the coin down and asks a player to make the ball stop on the coin. I think that's really telling as to where the player's skills are in terms of reading greens and controlling speed and recognition of the speed factors in any given putt. When you're dealing with that, you're talking about, hey, every putt's a different distance, a different slope, on a different stemp, and delivering the ball at the proper entry speed is so critical to making putts. And if not making putts, at least reducing 3 putts. We're dealing with
you don't see anybody doing that. You don't see anybody practicing that.
No, never. It's always putting to a hole.
They're always putting to a hole, or they're working on straight 6-footers, or
right.
You just don't see enough of that stuff where they have to solve all the problems.
Yeah. I think it's really a misguided effort for most folks. When they go to the putting green, you'll see them drop 3 or 4 balls down and it's hit all 3 balls at the same hole. And they're not learning really anything about their putting skills. They're learning that putt. It breaks a little more than I thought. The second ball they're playing with a little higher break, and they're learning that putt. Well, you're not learning anything about your putting skills. So you need to get some variation in what you do. I know it's just a continuous process to educate golfers on how to, spend the quality time on the putting green to get better. And diagnosis is so critical. Talk about speed a little bit with us. Golfers they'd like to get better. Give them something that they can take to the putting green tomorrow, a drill that you think would really help them understand speed a little bit. Talk about what creates the speed in the stroke and how the golfer recruits their velocity and some of the things that you like to teach.
Yeah, I think, obviously there's two. Hitting in the sweet spot's important, but I don't think it's everything, right? I think if you can get a player to hit it in the same part of the putter every time, like some people hit it a little in the toe or maybe a little in the heel.
Something like Brooks Koepka
knowing what that ball speed looks like coming off the putter, I think is important. But just length of stroke and then putter speed, right? And I think fitting those two things into that window or that box is important, because what we've found using Putt Lab, it's nothing new now, but 6-7 years ago it was pretty eye-opening for me, is how much average players are trying to over accelerate the putter through impact,
right?
And they tend to get a very short backstroke that's kind of slow, and then a very fast over accelerated forward stroke that looks very long. So getting them to sort of balance that out a little bit would be the first thing, as far as just how the putter moves. So it'd be a little faster backstroke, which gives you in early transition when the putter starts changing direction. We want that putter to be pretty close to peak speed. We found, as me and you've talked about many times, we found that peak speed happens before impact, not after impact for good putters.
Sure.
And and the putter's accelerating more at a constant rate, or sometimes at a decreasing rate. To be honest with you, it works pretty good too on faster greens. Now, a lot of times I think it's a product of their environment, right? If they play slow greens, a lot of times you'll see that over accelerating stroke.
Right.
That can work sometimes. But if a player comes to you that has speed issues, then that's usually the first thing I'm looking at. I love as far as drills go, I love drills that make you adapt to every single ball. John Graham's leapfrog drill, as I call it, is pretty good, where you just set up a ball marker at 0, 6, and 12. So you create a sort of a 6-foot little area for the ball to roll in, and you got to roll the first ball just past the first ball mark, and then you have to roll every ball a little bit farther consecutively and see how many you can fit into that box.
Right.
I call that, and that's sort of the basic one, which we still use it for good players. But if they get bored with that one, then I go to what I call professional, which is 0, 5, 10, 15, and 20. So you basically create 3 5-foot blocks. They have to roll, and they really got to adapt. Then you roll the first ball to the 5-foot, next to the 10-foot, next to the 15-foot marker, and then repeat. I've given that to some of my players when they come back and say they're bored of the first one, because it's not the most exciting drill, but it has a lot of value in being able to change the putter speed, the length, and then how long the ball rolls every single putt. And then probably my favorite drill is what I call the Jordan Spieth drill, which I stole it from Cameron McCormick, Jordan's coach. I don't know what the name of it is, but it's more sort of a hybrid where I'll actually set up, because I don't like to have my players just sitting there hitting 5-footers over and over. If you make 105 footers, that's just not real golf. So I'll have them hit 5 to 6 footers, and you can put down your training aids, your chalk lines or whatever on that one, make 3 in a row, and then I'll set up 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, and have a safety zone behind the hole where the safety zone gets smaller the closer they get to the hole. So you can kind of imagine 30 feet gives you 3 feet tolerance, 25 feet gives you 2.5 foot tolerance. So you bounce back and forth. So once you get your 3 and your 30 footer, then you go back to the 3 straight, the straight putt. And you can make it as difficult as you want. Like now I've been doing the short putt, I've been doing right to left, left to right, and straight. So they've got to really adapt. So it's just, depending on the skill level of the player, you can kind of make it as difficult. But it's not difficult. You just have to have some structure when you go to the practice green and go, what am I going to do? Like you said, are you going to throw a sleeve of balls on the ground and start rolling them around, or are you really going to dig in and start to build some skills?
Right. That's the key, is understanding what skills that particular golfer really needs to improve upon. And without coming to see you or me or somebody that's going to help them diagnose that, they're probably just wasting their time rolling balls around. It's just not really going to.
Yeah, they're not learning anything, right? I mean, they're learning kind of what the speed of the green looks like, but that's different than. And we're not talking about right before they go out to play. We're actually talking about dedicating some time to get better as a putter. I mean, that's the thing. Is like when people ask me, is like, how do you get better? I'm like, you actually got to go and have some dedicated practice time. Build that into your schedule.
Sure.
And then and you can go deep as practicing your slopes and practicing your green reading as well. I mean, it's all that stuff is a big package that most people don't even scratch the surface on, and they expect to get better.
Right. Yeah, they don't. They rarely go out and practice anything that's going to improve their skills, because they think practice is hitting. They think of practice. We call it block practice now, but we think of practice as being hitting putt after putt after putt from that same spot, rolling up a straight slope, perfecting their stroke. And as you and I know, a perfect stroke doesn't really exist in putting, and if it did, it would only be as effective as that player's ability to read greens and aim that perfect stroke and control the velocity at impact. So speed was coordinated with their start line. So perfect stroke is not even what it takes to be successful at putting sometimes.
The latest thing I've been doing is just all that picture stuff, right? So it's getting my players to take one ball, go out and read a putt. And then I think the biggest skill especially for good putters, is being able to discern what happened with the putt, right? So did it start left? Did it start straight? Did it start right? Why did that happen? Was it a face issue? Was it,
right?
Starting to be able to diagnose the issues is huge, because if not, then they're going to start fixing the wrong things, just like full swing. I'll get them to just hit a putt and start to pay attention, and then build the picture, right? So, I mean, hopefully they're starting with intention and building it backwards, but then starting to put, drop point and, the top of the break, and then start line or whatever, and then hit some putts, and again, start to create that experience database in your mind of what that putt looks like. And then, try right to lefters, left to righters. But I think that's a better practice than just doing a random putt and just going, well, that wasn't a good putt because it didn't go in. There's a lot to that, right? It's not about making putts all the time. It's about understanding, what kind of putt was it. I love when players say, I hit a really good putt, didn't go in. I'm like, well, what does that mean? What does that mean to you? Hit a good putt because the line rolled over itself. I love that one.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. You can roll a line over itself. Like it didn't start anywhere close to where it should have.
Right.
It's not a good putt.
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of times they want to say something that builds their confidence, and that feels good, but it's not making them making them aware.
That's fine, but it's like it's not helping you internally to like know what to change. What do you do next? You keep rolling the line over itself and feel like it's going to go in. You got to change something.
That's right. Yeah, so many golfers are going to choose anger and aggravation. I would prefer they choose awareness and analytical skills. Say,
100%.
Hey, we can,
it's very well said. I love that.
You're just going to get angry and aggravated, but what you need to do is get aware that you didn't start the putt anywhere close to the line that you intended to, or you did, and you just had the wrong speed, or you didn't have a clue where the proper target for that putt was in the first place. Just one of the three things. Start line,
as Jim Rohn says, turn frustration into fascination.
That's exactly. I love that too. That's fantastic.
Get fascinated. Kind of figure, go figure it out.
Exactly. Yeah. I think when we talk about your family, we really have to mention there's some big news in your family lately. I noticed on social media that young Nicholas has signed a letter of intent to play D1 college golf. That's got to be something you're very proud of.
Oh man, you don't even know. Like you're going to make me cry.
Well, we're all proud of Nicholas and all that went into his career development, and that's something that you and I both share is sons that play competitive golf, and we probably live and die by every shot that these kids have hit through our entire lives, and it's just so important for us as dads to see that relationship, stay solid as a dad, but also be their coach, and it's very difficult. You've balanced that line magnificently, and compliments to you and your family and your Christian background for making that happen. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Man.
Yeah,
awesome.
it's a big deal because as you know he's been through a lot of ups and downs with his game, and you're on top of the world, then you can't find it, and then coaches are talking to you, then coaches stop talking to you. It's been a long road, so to kind of keep that, it could have been real easy for him to quit and give up, but I'm really proud that he kind of hung in there, and both of us as a team have just kind of kept pushing forward, and our faith was big, obviously, because it was very difficult a lot of times we had some tough times where, we didn't think it was going to happen.
Right.
And for it to work out as late as it's not normal for a kid to sign this late.
Right.
As you know, the recruiting process is pretty brutal. I just couldn't be more thankful, and I'm just so proud of him as not just as a golfer, but as a young man.
Right.
Because he's gone through a lot of stuff that kids probably won't go through until maybe they're in college. I think that's a huge advantage. And I think that's where a lot of what the coaches that were interested in him late understood, but that, adversity breeds success and character, as I always say. Mm-hmm. And he's got tons of that. And I'm really excited to kind of see him go to the next level.
Well, it's going to be exciting to watch him when he gets there playing some golf, and I know we'll be following closely, watching his career continue, because he's a great young man, and you should be very proud. I know Tiffany's proud, and she's going to be I'll probably be beside herself when you guys are completely empty nesters next year. So that's
oh my gosh,
thing. You got Brittany out of the house.
I don't even want to think
Nicholas.
about that. It's going to be hard on Dad and probably harder on me than her. But
might be some more date nights in you guys' future, though.
That's true. Yeah, we'll have some free time and
look forward to.
Get to do some stuff. I won't be traveling around the junior golf tournaments anymore. That's really I'll be teaching a lot more as well.
Well, you'll be going to some college tournaments, I tell you, and they're just further away. So they're just further away. I went and watched my son play yesterday, and it never stops. So you just continue to go and when you can and pull for him, and that's what you'll do, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Jason, we could talk forever. I think what I would encourage any golfer to do is to reach out to you or one of your talented staff members there. We got to talk about your talented staff. You've been so, I guess, effective at bringing in talent with Seth Mertz and young Robbie Fales there on staff with you. Your mentorship has been tremendous for their development. But you've had a long line of talented people there at your facility. And it goes without saying that a lot of that is because of the environment that you create for these kids to come on there and get passionate and go down the rabbit hole with you, So, that's a big deal. We could talk forever, and I'm going to probably try and get both of those guys to come on and do a show as well because, I think that would be fascinating.
They're definitely young superstars. I'm super proud of both Robbie and Seth because I'm not sure how much I've done. I've just tried to impart as much knowledge and, past experiences as I can for them, but really they do the work. I mean, they're the ones that are getting after it. They're the ones that are, I try to create opportunities for them to learn, which is having my friends that, really smart coaches come in and do seminars and do certifications. And then Robbie and Seth have done a great job of sort of building those relationships with a lot of the guys that I've learned from over the years, and that's what it's all about, right? I mean, it's them doing the work, so I can't take all the credit. I just give them the pathway and create that environment, and they just know I'm there for them to run things by me, or anything that they have that I can help them with. I'm always there for them, because they're like family to me. Right. I love both of them, and I'll tell them that. So it's a cool environment, because we all just try to get better, together, and we just continue to, like you said, go down the rabbit holes and try different things. And it's fun when you got people around you that have that sort of like-minded, continuous learning attitude, because you just feel like, it's going to be fun. It's kind of like, watching Nick go to college, but it's going to be fun to watch these guys grow and see what they do in their careers as well.
Exactly. Well, that brings us to the final phase of the Forecast show today, and I want to run down some questions with you. These will be just kind of fast and furious and fun. I call them my F Forecast questions. So first one is, what's your 4 favorite foods?
Oh, gosh. They're all bad, but I love pizza.
Still have to have some.
Because I've tried to always be like low carb, but like pizza is like my number one. Like I could eat it every day. I'd be like 290 pounds. God, aside from that, I just love steak. I'm all about protein now. So anything, any meat.
Usually when I'm with you, it's a burger. I love a good fillet, bun.
And like a really good hamburger. And then, I don't know. I got a sweet problem. I think that's part of my issue.
Yeah. That's why you have to run 10 miles a day.
Cookies are an issue.
I'm right there with you on that one, buddy. What's the first thing you do every day? Is there a ritual, a first thing you do when you get up out of bed every day?
Aside from just getting ready to go to work, I got to have a cup of coffee. It's just another. I got probably a caffeine issue as well.
You make it yourself, or does Tiffany fix it for you?
Yeah, no, I make it myself. Okay. I've been drinking a lot of mushroom coffee lately.
Okay.
If you've ever heard of that, it's got a little more potency, and it's organic, which is a little bit easier on your stomach. Okay. But it will light you up. Like it gets you going pretty quick. So if I've got a really important lesson or meeting or something I'm doing, and I feel like I need a little bit extra, I usually go to the mushroom coffee.
Okay. So when you're not teaching, what do you do for fun? What's fun for Jason?
Fishing is like my favorite thing in the whole world. I don't get to do enough of it. Me and Nick actually have started fishing a little bit more together, which has been kind of cool.
It's like fly fishing summer. Or
yeah, I love fly fishing. Is like my passion. Like I said, I don't get to do it as much, but just on my last birthday, my wife got me a float trip that me and Nick did, which was probably one of the best fishing experiences I've ever had. So look forward to doing that more here in the future. Is just any kind of fishing I do. I love fly fishing, but I have bass fishing, saltwater fishing. It doesn't matter. I just love it. That's probably my favorite thing.
Awesome. And so, is there anything that you want to fix before you're finished?
Before I'm finished, when they put me in the big divot, is that what you're saying?
Is there anything you want to fix between now and the time you're finished? Yep.
Yeah, I want to get below 180 pounds.
Okay. You want to go below 180?
I keep getting to like 182, and I just for some reason I just stop.
It's a tough wall to climb over. Yep. Any
I want to be thinner.
Any fears? Anything you fear?
Anything I fear? That's a great question.
Are you afraid of heights? Are you?
Yeah. Oh well. Yeah. There you go. I'm afraid of heights. I was kind of thinking.
So you're not going to be jumping out of an airplane anytime soon.
Yeah. You're not gonna see me bungee jumping anytime soon or jumping out of an airplane.
Gotcha.
But yeah, definitely afraid of heights.
Gotcha. And the final question is, what's your forecast for your future?
More fishing.
Retirement.
Yeah, more time with with my wife now. I guess that my kids are going to be out of the house. I don't know. It's a great question because I think about that all the time. I try to do a lot of reflecting and going forward. It's more giving back to our industry. spending more time with friends, like you. I just don't, we get so busy. I don't get to do that enough.
Yeah.
Just stuff like that. I mean, it's, I'm real excited. I mean, we'll probably plug the stuff at the end. I'm real excited for my new app that just came out.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that. I meant to mention that as well.
Yes. I know. I'm sure you're probably going to get to it afterwards, but yeah, I just signed a contract with Swing U, which they've been great. It's a digital marketing company that is allowing me to build my own app for golfing subscribers or teachers, either one. So basically it's full of videos, right? So it's got all the mastermind skills in there and all the drills that I like, plus a lot of sort of live lesson stuff in there as well, because there's a Facebook feed type feature that's awesome, where students can get on there. They can get online lessons, and this is for obviously non-members, of course. They can't get to me. An opportunity to work with me personally, and then communicate with me at a very close level, because they'll be able to post videos, comment on videos, pictures, whatnot. So It's real exciting. We just did a soft launch, and this is a great. Thank you for letting me plug that. But
absolutely,
just starting to roll it out here in the next week. So you can go to the App Store and catch that. It's a Golf Guru app. And then obviously the podcast has been doing really well, which you've been on. Thank you for being a guest.
Very fortunate to be on.
Absolutely, yeah. And we'll put, obviously we're going to put this one on my feed as well. Try to grow this one for you, because you do such a great job, and you I've enjoyed your previous guests and your previous podcast. So Golf Guru podcast is out there as well, but just doing more of that stuff to help other coaches and help other golfers, and just continue to get better.
The future of our industry depends on instructors like yourself and myself, and that's what I'm so proud of, to be associated with you, Jason. Is that you're leading our industry, and there's a lot of followers, and you're leading the industry forward, and so we're in good hands. The future is good. The forecast is good for golf.
I hope so.
Thanks to you. Yeah. Well, listen, I can't thank you enough for spending a little time with us this morning. We'll get you back on soon again and follow up with Nicholas and Brittany and Tiffany, and how they're dealing with all the different changes when Nicholas goes off to school, and certainly following his career as a young D1 college golfer. Check in on your fishing and see what you caught in the last couple trips you go out. So you'll get more time to do all that, I'm sure, as well. And I look forward to seeing you soon, man. We'll share a steak, some red wine, and go down the rabbit hole talking some more golf, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, Alan.
Hey, great show, Jason. Thanks again, listeners, for tuning in today of the episode with Jason Sutton, the Golf Guru. Check his web podcast out as well. It is fantastic. The guests that he has on are so informative, and you will just enjoy hearing all the information shared on Golf Guru Show. Thanks again, Jason. We'll talk soon. And again, listeners, check us out, The Forecast, on the Mesh Podcast Network, and tell all your friends if they want to learn more about golf and grow their golf IQ, have a laugh or two. We'd look forward to having some more listeners. So pass the word, and we'll see you next time on the show, The Forecast.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.